Congratulations! You've leveled up and made it to Ari Part 2. This episode promises to have all the fun-filled laughter and tears of Part 1. Thank you for tuning in to Hack Attack and the Pharaoh. I mean, it's, sometimes I have to spell my middle name out to people. So everybody's like, Pharaoh, that's got to be PH. I'm like, no, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
It'd be cooler if it was
just
like Egyptian
F-A-R-R-O-W?
pharaoh. F-A-R-O.
Oh. Like the Faroe Island? No, that has an E. I want to go to the Faroe Islands, by the way.
The Faroe Islands.
Yeah,
Look
like off the coast of Greenland.
Look at you.
Yeah, I want to go there.
Oh, man. Wait. So Rona's put a damper on a lot of your travel, obviously, this year. Where are you going this year?
So this year, I went to Seattle. Where did I go this year? So last New Year's, I was in Italy. So basically when Corona was hitting, I flew into Munich, went to Austria, to Italy, went to Cortina d'Ampezzo, ski the Dolomites, and then, which is basically like ground zero for Corona in Europe.
In Europe, yeah, it was terrible.
So then we went back, and then I drove from Italy to Amsterdam and flew from Amsterdam back, so that we got back like January 8th. I was actually super sick right after that. Me and my buddy were both super sick with the cough and all this stuff. No idea though, but now they're saying that Corona was in Italy in December, so that's, who knows. And so then a month later, off I go to Japan by myself, flew into Tokyo, rented a car, drove 5 hours from Tokyo to Hakuba by myself on the wrong side of the road, almost hit a monkey. That was fun. Of all things that I think are going to run across the road on the freeway in Japan.
Did they have monkey crossing signs?
Yeah, so after I almost hit the monkey, there was a monkey crossing sign, and I'm like, oh, that would have been helpful like 2 turns ago. When I'm concerned that I see this thing running, and it like not only did it like run across the road, but I slammed on the brakes, and it like screeched at me.
Oh, shit.
So you've seen the snow monkeys in Nagano,
yes,
right?
with the red faces and the white hair.
So I went there in Chiba. That's where the snow monkeys are. So I drove from Tokyo to Nagano, met a friend in Hakuba, skied Hakuba, then we went to Chiba. I stayed at an amazing Rakuten, whatever. It's like the traditional Japanese hotels where I had to wear like little wooden shoes with the little things.
Was it the silk the rice paper?
Oh yeah, everything was rice
and
paper.
Wooden
Everything.
frames.
No one spoke English. I had to wear the little wooden shoes with socks and a little thing. You like everything was cobblestone, and you had to do this. They had this. So Chibo's really cool. It has this like tour of all the different hot springs, and you have to do all 9. Which, mind you have to be like completely naked everywhere in Japan. Every time I go to Japan, I'm like,
everywhere in Japan, naked.
Well, no, I mean, everything's gendered. So you can't, like, so you're just, like, even in Tokyo, if you go to, like, I always stay at the Shinagawa Prince. The first time I went, me and my friend were like, let's go hot tubbing. And I'm like, oh, I have to be by myself because you men and women can't be in the same, like, pools or hot tubs.
In public? In just areas?
Yep. Yeah, so
they're separated?
Everything's separated, yeah.
That's crazy.
But then when you go to these places, you have to be buck naked. Like, they don't allow clothes. So here's Ari just by herself, like, and I'm like, like a foot taller than everybody.
And you're funny.
And I'm just, apparently I'm comical to the Japanese people who just think I'm like really loud and they think I'm, what's the word? Like a caricature or something. I'm like a. I don't even know. They just
anime.
think
It's like,
I don't know
she's
what
anime.
I don't know what they think I am, but they just think
you remind them of
Goku.
They
just tell me all the time. They're like, "You're so funny." I was like, "I don't know."
You're a Dragon Ball Z character.
I don't know what I am, but like, you go to like 9 different hot springs and you can't have tattoos. So then I'm like worried someone's
You can't have tattoos. What would happen?
If they see you, it's because they had that because they wanted to keep the Yakuza out.
Oh shit!
That's why you can't have tattoos in a lot of the places. But like,
well, but you're clearly not in the Yakuza. You're clearly more like in a cartel or something.
Yeah, clearly.
You're like, she's Latina. She's a Mexican cartel.
Yeah,
clearly more Sonora.
than the Yakuza. But
Yakuza, please don't make me laugh, Ari. You're so funny.
But yeah, I basically was in Italy right when Corona was starting. Then I was in Japan, and I was driving back from Hakuba, taking my friend Javier that lives in Chile back, and he was actually going to Taiwan to visit another friend of ours that's a snowboarder there. And we were going to we went to Mount Fuji. We stayed in a cabin like up in the mountains. That was amazing. And we were going to, I think I was like, my plane was supposed to leave Monday. And a friend of ours that just kind of works in the government here, that kind of has like a somewhat government job, called me and was like, hey, because I fly standby because I have a good friend that works for Delta, so I always just buddy pass everywhere. He's like, you need to get home. He's like, we're hearing that they're gonna shut down travel. I was like, what? And meanwhile, I'm just in the middle of nowhere in the like woods in Mount Fuji. I'm like, oh, I got to get home. So luckily I ended up driving back to Tokyo, put my friend on a plane to Taiwan, and was like, oh, maybe I'll get on the plane Sunday. And my friend's like, no, get on a plane tonight. Like, if you can get on the plane out of Tokyo, like you're at Haneda, get the fuck out of Japan. Got on the plane Saturday, got back Sunday, and by Sunday night they'd shut down
Wow.
So I could still be in Japan if I hadn't have done that. I wouldn't have gone back.
You'd be a full geisha by now.
Yeah.
What with the little wooden sandals and the socks and
I'd
the
just be scampering.
little shimmying across the cobbles.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So that was fun.
Dinner
So that
and
was the last
show.
place I went.
She'd be working the showrooms of Mount Fuji.
Oh, by the way, I went to a strip club. Have you been to a strip club?
Tell me everything about. I've been to strip clubs all over the world, and I want to hear all about a Japanese strip club.
I have been to a Japanese strip club.
Did you?
By the by.
Oh my God! Isn't it
In
hilarious? Yes.
I went to.
Did you go to like a real one, or did you go to like the underground like Japanese strip clubs?
I did not go to the Japanese strip club.
Tell me everything. I must know.
Oh, hold on, we're gonna find.
I went to one called Seventh Heaven. This was probably.
Was it more touristy? Because we
22
were
years
going
ago.
for the like.
It was probably touristy.
Yeah, we were going for like the real experience.
No.
First of all,
where it's all
I got in
schoolgirls
trouble.
with their socks glued up to their knees.
Well, it's very quiet. I was almost kicked out for wooing too loud.
Yeah.
I was like, woo! And they're like, yep. Yeah. And so this little dingy little like this little basement room. And I'm going to find you the picture I have with the vagina. Hold on.
Whoa.
Why didn't you pull this out 10 minutes ago?
I don't
See,
know.
this is where you're right. We should have stopped the podcast, right? Oh. No. Listen to me. We should have stopped the podcast, and then we should have had this as the bloopers and whatnot afterwards.
Okay, all right. Here's what I'm looking at. So it's Ari and
My boobs.
Your boobs are always center of attraction. And there's a guy, and
That's my friend Matt.
There's a Japanese stripper who's showing her pussy and bush right
Yeah,
there.
big huge bush.
That's vagina.
A vagine.
Wow.
So
She's spreading the panty. There it is. I'm looking right at it. So she was very accommodating.
We've just lost I don't know how many viewers.
He worries too much, this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so
sorry, should I not talk about?
No, you should. So you
This
went
is
underground, and what happened? What happened?
So this is what happens, like my buddies are like, we'll go to a strip club because I'm the girl that has all the guy friends. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Why not? Like I don't care. And so we went, and it was really funny because it's not like a strip club here where guys are like, yeah, and yelling and all this stuff. You have to be very quiet. It's like a tennis match, and you can only clap.
It's like a tennis match.
You can only clap at like certain times. And so instead of having like a pole,
It's very artistic.
there's this like stage, and it comes out like this in a circle. And then in the center, there's this little platform that comes up and down. And the girl comes out on here, and the platform spins. And the thing is it was very dramatic. Like all of them had like a story. Like it wasn't just like there was this one girl that
Wrestling? It was just like wrestling?
No, she
This is like
acted out
kabuki
Pearl
or-
Harbor. There was this one girl that was like
It's
acting.
Buto. It's Buto or Kabuki or no theater.
They rise from the ashes of the
There was
atomic
this girl
bomb. What's
that
going on
came
here?
out, and she had this like letter that she had written to her like American lover soldier, and then she finds out that he dies, and she starts crying.
In
and the
Pearl
next thing
Harbor?
you
He died in Pearl Harbor?
know- something I don't know.
Are you? They brought up
Obviously,
history. They brought up.
It was this like this show, and we're all just kind of drunk, and we're the only. First of all, I'm the only woman in the entire.
This is
room.
like WWE
and
here in America.
We're the only non-Japanese people, and I got yelled at for being too
Animated.
loud because I'm too loud.
Because
And
it's not the Ari show.
we're sitting there and we're watching, and it's like she starts crying, and it's like and then she gets up on this platform, and the next thing you know, she's crying about her her lost lieutenant or whatever the heck, and then she gets on this thing, and next thing you know, she's just doing these, and she'll do this pose, like she'll be like.
So she's doing. Oh, what is that?
naked.
That's dancer.
Dancer, yeah,
It's
she
royal
does this.
dancer. The royal dancer yoga pose.
She grabbed her ankle and thrust out
Yeah,
her
and
torso.
she's naked, and she's on this platform.
she's
and
naked.
and she spins, and while she's in this position, everybody's like,
Hold up, golf clapping. Hold
Yes.
on. Is there the art of strip tease involved? Is she strip teasing, or while she's
Kind
talking,
of.
is she just happen to be taking her clothes off? Is there
like
tease?
there's kind of a tease,
Well-
but it's like I don't even remember. And so the way this photo came to be is that my friend.
Yes. Is that her?
No, this was some other girl. I don't know who this was. But they do a lot of the kind of like.
Is there
schoolgirl.
eroticism? Is there an erotic quality to it or not? Or is it more theater and kind of like, wow,
It's like theater. I don't know. And
I'm
then
too invested in her Pearl Harbor story to be turned on.
She's crying. I've never seen like pretend crying at the strip club, so I was very confused. But so then my friend's like, this is strange, but we're drinking these things called Strong Nines. They're like a seltzer. Before seltzers were here, where they were cool, they had these things in vending machines that they're 9%.
Oh,
and they're
I love
like
the
a
vending
pint.
machines in Tokyo.
Yeah,
You can
and
get
they're
anything.
just like 9% alcohol, and they're enormous, and you just drink them. And then you can also get little sake cups at 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven, by the way, in Tokyo is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're chicken nuggets. So we're all kind of
Chicken
drunk,
nuggets
and we're
in
just
Tokyo at
we're
7-Eleven.
we're just so confused by this. And then my friend's like, Matt's like, well, we should at least get a picture out of this. Let's get a picture with one of them, because afterwards, the girls come out and they have this little box, and people go and give her things. They give her money and they give her food, and they put everything in this little box. And she's like, like being all like. Yeah.
Just a little like Shinto box. Or
Yeah, I don't know. And so my friend's like,
The whole
let's
demure thing. That
I don't know. It's almost,
aesthetic.
it's a little bit childish too, which is a little creepy, but I don't know. Whatever.
But
So my friend says we go get a picture with her, and so we go to get a picture with her, and she just like stands there, like we're just like this, and my friend's like, I'm not paying $100 for a picture of us, like.
$100.
Yeah, he gave or like 50.
of-
It was like $50. Like
What,
we were literally
what she's doing is, as in standing together with your arms
Yeah,
around each other, and
exactly.
propping the
Prop your
elbow on
elbows
each
up.
other's shoulder, and
so-
it's a stripper. So you're like,
Yeah,
show us your
so
pussy.
my
That's what you
friend-
said. That's where this is
No.
going.
Well, obviously, I didn't know what to do. So my friend Matt's like, tell her. Go tell her. You're a girl. Tell her we want something a little more sexy. And I'm like, I don't speak Japanese. What do you want me to do? So I had no idea what to do. So I go to try to tell her. I'm trying to talk to her, and she clearly speaks no
She's
English.
just giggling like a little
She's
kid.
just giggling. And so I didn't know what to do. So I was just like,
No,
That's what I did.
She opens her hand in a V-like shape,
and then we got this picture.
and she understood the
And
universal.
she goes, ah!
The universal symbol for pussy is the spreading of the hands in a V, and so she spread her
And
legs.
so
there.
I had.
She's very confident in this picture, I must
Yeah,
say.
no, she was very nice.
So-
But yeah,
I
we
understand.
laughed so hard, and so then one
No
of our
way.
friends bailed. I think his girlfriend was mad. He was at a strip club. I don't know. And the next thing we know,
Wow.
then it was like 3 a.m. and we decided that obviously like really spicy Indian curry would be good after a night of drinking at the strip
Always.
club. And then I somehow got my 2 very drunk friends home to the hotel in Shinjuku. And the next morning we were like, what happened? And
The
then
rest is
I pulled
vague.
out my phone and I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you remember this? And that'll always be the picture of we remembered it
No
hard.
shit. So the universal symbol. I love that. You do speak ESL
Yeah. I was just like, do this.
or international sign language. Vagina.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry to be so
As
crass.
Pharaoh says.
I'm a bit of a. I'm a
No,
dude.
no.
Oh, I want more of this. This is.
I'm
great.
fine with you doing it. It's when he does it that I get a little sketch.
Is that sexist?
It probably is.
Yeah.
But he's a white heterosexual male,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter.
Son of
He's
a
got
bitch.
certain
Are you
privileges.
offended? I'm sorry. Are you offended? What are you
Can't believe
playing
this.
the victim? Is that what
Yeah.
you're doing? I'll victim shame you all day long.
Don't you throw your toxic masculinity at me. Look. Is this your best strip club story that you've ever had? I mean, this is certainly the most
There was
unique.
one time that God, I was with my father and my brother, which was kind of weird. But there was one time that a girl grabbed the dollar out of my hand with her vagina. It was like a Venus flytrap.
What?
It was in Vegas.
Okay, I was going to say, where were you? I need to know everything about the vagina, the labia, and what they did and how they grabbed the dollar bill.
Okay. Oh, which strip club was it? Was it one of the ones that served alcohol or no alcohol?
No alcohol.
No alcohol.
No, it was definitely like an 18 plus.
So
one.
it was the full on.
Yeah, and I just remember that I was like, oh, I'll give her $1, like why not? I was pretty young. And I just remember that she actually grabbed it. Like it came at me.
Wow.
You're
So
making a clutching gesture with your hand.
Like a snapping turtle.
The lips closed around it like a mouth.
well, the way she's doing it, it's more like eagle claw, But if she were to use both hands, it's even
More
enough.
of a bivalve.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait.
Wow,
Oh.
we're going to hell. So
I don't know.
So you're down in Vegas. You're with your family. The whole family's there.
Yeah. And we decided we'd go to a strip club. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Totally.
For fun.
One of the Vegas is so interesting as far as their strip clubs go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hilarious. We went. Okay, I'll give you my we weren't actually going to the strip club. It was a bachelor party, and the guy that was kind of hosting the bachelor party, he wasn't the best man, but he was sort of hosting it. He was the richer of the group, so he was kind of hosting it. And he's a organic farmer. And so he was very much into organic food. So he wanted to go to this farm-to-table Spanish Malay restaurant, right? And so we're trying to find it. And we get on an Uber, and we go, and the Uber takes us, and we're going to this huge strip club. And it's got this huge marquee, like a Vegas, marquee with the huge Super Bowl freaking TV sign on it. What am I trying? The animatron kind of sign. And we're like, this can't be the right place. And we drive into the parking lot, and no shit, there it is. This beautiful restaurant, which is a family restaurant, shares the building with the giant strip club. So you walk up, you can drive around, and you could drive under the awning of the strip club, or you can walk right into this Malay place. And then of course, I just imagine if I was, 15-year-old Pharaoh, like, let's go to that restaurant. And because good. on the marquee, on the animatron, whatever, the jumbotron, that's the word I was looking for, jumbotron. They have apparently they have a pool behind the strip club, and they have all these pool parties where I'm sure if you pay a certain amount of money, you get to go have a pool party with the ladies and whatnot.
Well, they have all sorts of stuff like that in Japan. They wanted me to go to this place where you got to like play in bubbles with the strippers. And I was like, guys, come on. I was like, there's,
It seems counterproductive to have a bubble bath.
And your boobs would have pulled focus. Let's face it.
Well, and like, I was like, I'm okay. I was like, dude, I told them, I was like, I'm a girl. I'm with a bunch of guys. I'm totally fine with being the girl that's like, let's go have fun. I know you're in Tokyo. You want to do this. I was like, I'm fine with paying like $30 to get into the strip club, but I'm not paying $200 to like frolic in bubbles with some strippers with no tits.
Yeah, see?
So,
yeah, exactly.
So, what were you in Vegas for?
My mother's calling me. That time?
She's listening to the podcast somehow. We haven't even uploaded it.
She said you forgot some details about the strip club.
She's like, your father and your brother went where?
Oh God, I don't know what we were for. Just like a family thing. Yeah. And it was because my brother was like just recently turned 18, so it was just kind of like, we can go do this now. Yeah. And it was like, it's a nice little. I was like, do I go with them or do I sit at home and do nothing? And so I'm 5 years older, so he was 18 and I was like 23, so I was just like, why not? Plus, like, I'll go, and then it was just, all I remember was the thing that
just
came
a world traveler, world adventure, and all I remember is this mighty Tharlak coming at me,
labia
and
Venus,
and then just being like, it just was not, It was one of those moments in life where you're like, well, that was not what I thought was going to happen.
A labia Venus flytrap is not easily forgotten. That's
surprisingly powerful.
Surprise, poignant, and rich.
There's definitely been times in my life where I'm like, I wonder if I could do that. But like,
so walks in, Ari, what are you doing? I'm practicing. Get out. Ever heard her knocking?
I'm practicing. Wow.
Yeah, like. I didn't, it's just something I never really thought of,
I
like to have such dexterity, like,
sensitivity.
I can grab things with my toes.
Okay, is that like a Kegel? How would you do that? Let's literally break down how you could grab something with your labia. That's like a Kegeling motion. How do you? I don't
know.
How do you make them ambulatory? How do you summon them to move?
I was not aware that they, had
That's insane.
That power.
I hope it was a $10 or a $20 bill because
it was $1.
Oh man,
it's a lot of work for $1.
Yeah, sorry. I realized that I totally goofed my reference. It's the Mighty Sarlacc.
From Mighty Sarlacc.
Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I've never seen any of the Star Wars.
Whoa!
You know why? Because
Here,
my dad doesn't
Let me show you a picture.
When I was a kid, my dad didn't like science fiction. I remember one time being
Your dad's a scientist and he doesn't like science fiction.
Well, because we were watching Star Trek or something and there was some fight and I remember him being like,
that would never
pew,
happen.
pew, pew. And my dad's like, there is no sound in space. It's a vacuum. And so, like, therefore, because it was unrealistic. Oh, yeah, it was something that, things had. My dad's like me in that sense that, like, things are very literal.
Gotcha.
things have to be a certain way, and he doesn't like any type of fantasy.
Like
Movies where like animals talk. He's like, they don't talk.
I went to an astronomy class with one of my buddies when I was visiting him at college, and it was interesting. This was other 90s movies.
Yeah.
The professor started talking about Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Oh, yes.
And he hadn't seen either of them.
Yeah.
But he had heard through the grapevine that Armageddon was way off. And he's like, but Deep Impact, maybe, I guess, from what I've heard. So it was interesting. I could see that as a scientist
they
going,
were just like, no, it's not
I mean, how
right.
much you have to remove yourself from reality in order to engage your imagination.
Yeah.
Must be insane. Like the film Gravity.
Yeah.
With Sandra Bullock. I'm sure that probably drove your father nuts if he'd seen it.
Someone was telling me they hated me that movie the other day. Who was it? I liked it.
I liked it too. I mean, I understand
good.
that. Okay, yeah, she couldn't do this or that, but it's fiction.
Yeah, it is. It's supposed to be that way.
Can we talk about The Rock again?
Yes.
Let's go back to 1995.
Okay.
No. Okay. Okay. What about? Okay, there's a new movie out. This is actually fresh
What
off the
about
presses.
Con Air?
Oh shit!
Do you remember Con Air?
Do I remember Con Air?
Oh my god, my ex dated one of the stuntmen.
Oh really?
On because they filmed, the whole junkyard scene where they land the plane and
That's
then
here in Utah?
they filmed it in Wendover.
I have no
And they
idea.
built that whole set outside of Wendover. And that's where they filmed it. And she
Had
was
no
working
idea.
she was working in the casino as a waitress. And she ended
Bendover.
up in Bendover.
Yes.
In Bendover. And she started dating one of the stunt guys. And a stuntman actually died on that set.
What? Yeah. Is it in the film?
I don't know. I don't know. Do you remember when the Corvette is being pulled behind the plane?
Naturally.
There's a guy that's actually laying down steering the Corvette. There's a stuntman in that car steering the Corvette as it's being towed.
Here's another good one.
That's when
True
men were
Lies.
men. That's when men were True Lies. I grew up on True
God.
Lies.
Love that
Oh
movie.
my God.
You're fired.
You're fired. Yeah, the terrorist is hanging from a missile. He's in a Harrier jet. He looks at him. You're fired.
You're fired. Or what about when the little his wife's in the car with that creepy dude,
With,
the car salesman,
Bill Paxton.
And Bill Paxton. He puts her head in
Like
his
the
lap.
vet gets
and
him
then
wet.
what's his name? Tom Arnold.
Tom Arnold.
He's like, maybe she's just sleepy.
Oh, what I love with Tom Arnold is when he brings out the pictures and he figures his wife is sleeping with someone else,
Yeah.
and Tom Arnold just gives him that big hug. He's like, "Welcome to the club, buddy."
Welcome to the club. Or then when she's like,
He's like, "No,
"Have
you'll
you
get
ever-"
over the initial shock and it'll be fine."
when he's on the sodium pentothal or whatever, and she's like, "Have you ever killed anyone?" He's like,
Yeah,
but they were all
they're
bad.
all bad.
They were all bad.
They're all bad.
Oh,
Yeah,
Tia Carrere though. Remember her?
Oh, dude, every inch of her. Man, I'm like 10 when I saw this.
Oh, I'm
9.
sure she was just boof in that
Oh,
movie.
come on. I love when they're gonna kill Jamie Lee Curtis. They're gonna kill her. He's like, "Tell me what this is." The terrorist is looking at the bomb saying, "Do you know what this is?" He's like, "Yes, I know what this is. It's a snow cone maker.
It's a snow cone maker.
It's an
espresso machine."
And he's like, "It's a warhead, no Nerf stick, the Soviet with the arm." And he looks at her, and he says, and mind you, his hands are handcuffed behind his back, and he looks at Jamie Lee Curtis, his wife, who has no idea he's a spy for their whole marriage. He's like, "What can I say? I'm a spy," and she fucking punches him right in the face.
Oh,
I love that part. That was so
so
good.
good.
Oh man, let's watch True Lies right now.
I know, dude.
It gets me amped up.
Amped up. Okay, favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie?
Oh. Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten Cop.
I will
I
say,
fucking love that movie.
I love that fucking movie.
Yeah.
When he breaks into the fucking the crank party, or where all the
God.
crackheads are. And
That movie was so
and he first goes up and he's all, "I'm the potty pooper."
I'm the potty pooper.
All right, everybody, this party's over.
Party's
Next time,
over.
my place. That shit kills me, man.
I mean, there's tons of them I like. I love Arnold. I love that video he just recently put out.
Oh God, that is a great video.
Freaking bald.
Oh yeah, that is.
You
an
didn't see the
awesome-
video
Oh,
that he
you gotta
put
see
out
this video,
after
man.
the insurrection?
After the yeah.
Oh my God. It was like, it had you didn't see it?
Yeah,
It
it's
is
amazing.
so
It's
good.
so poignant, so eloquent.
He was so well spoken and like
Yeah.
coming from an immigrant. and someone who
talking about having lived through fascism.
Yeah, exactly, and understanding what it meant and what it meant for coming from Austria and seeing the rise of Nazis and everything else, and like, oh, it was
great.
Go home and watch it tonight.
I can't
believe you see. I'm pretty sure I sent the link to Jordan.
I'm gonna chase it with True Lies.
Yeah, do.
This is crazy.
Just cry a little bit and
I
then
love
watch
Arnold.
True Lies.
Come on.
He's
You
a
can't
good
go
guy.
wrong.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think that really cemented for me. Like when I saw that, I was
That's
like,
it.
yeah.
The kindergarten cop.
He's definitely not a perfect human being, but none of us are. And that's where I think, the cancel culture, that's where I think they get it wrong.
Yeah.
If we cancel Arnold because of things that he'd done in his past, we wouldn't get a video like that that speaks to everyone, that is so poignant, that draws everybody out, and actually, I think in certain cases, unifies people.
Yeah, I think it really did.
So it really, it's a 10-minute.
I watched it like
10 or
4
15
times.
minutes, right?
I was just like, oh, this is so good. It just was,
And he pulls out the Conan sword.
Oh, he does. He pulls out a sword, and he's like, "What does he say?" He's like, "Truth is like a sword,
like
so
steel
good.
or something."
Steel.
Like
He's
that.
like, the more you bang it and the more you forge it, the stronger it becomes. And I was like, yes. Like it just was so him putting everything that had happened, and I think especially that whole week was so hard. I think for everybody to see what was going on and to see these people storming the Capitol and trying to basically undermine democracy. And the fact that, half the country is like, woohoo, yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, like, this is cool. And also just the fact that the people doing it half of them didn't even, like, so many of them didn't even vote. And so many of them didn't even know what the heck's going on.
And some of you can't read, illiterate.
All the things. Yeah. And to see, I think, a figure, especially since we were also talking about this idea of masculinity. And, like, there's so much of masculinity, I think, is tied to, in these last couple of years, to these guys with the army helmets and the Walmart tactical gear and the guns and all this stuff, and we're so tough and we're so this and we're gonna storm the Capitol and we're so strong, and to see someone that is seen as such a masculine figure. He's so big, he's so strong, he's been around for so long, he's like the quintessential action movie dude, right? To come out and just speak the truth and to say it very. I think he spoke to everyone. It was very simple. It wasn't, he brought out a sword, first of all. And to put it that way where I think it's like what like.
Yeah. I mean, this is great that we've been
all over the place tonight.
We've been all over the place, and I don't even care. And for those of you that have canceled us out and aren't listening anymore, you're missing out. Yeah. Because
sorry.
I think we have a behavioral specialist on the show with us. So from your point of view, from your educational background and your experiences, what do you think of that day, January 6th?
Oh, I didn't even know how to process it. Mm-hmm. To be honest, like I watched this stuff and I think to anybody who had been watching what had been happening in the month since the election, it was like shocking, but not a surprise. Like I'm not surprised that, I have a friend that has a good friend that's one of those crazy QAnon people. And I've talked to him a couple times.
You have a QAnon friend?
Well, he's not my friend, but he's a friend of a friend. It's like it's like a friend that's like an old friend of hers from childhood that they're still friends because, if she's known him since he was a kid. And to speak to him is like, you literally feel like he is so untethered from reality.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is so scary. And so to me as a behaviorist, like, I mean, you saw all the red flags were there of what was going to happen. And
right.
You saw, I was like, okay, so, there's clearly these people who, for whatever reason, the people that feel like they don't have a voice, or they feel like they've been left out, or they feel like they've been left behind for whatever reason, whether they feel like, they didn't go get an education and they don't have the job they want. And they see this elite as something that should be, that they're not a part of.
They feel marginalized.
They feel marginalized in whatever way. And when from the people I know that are into conspiracy theories, I think you see from them that they go towards it because it makes them feel like they have this information. Like, this is what this friend's like. He's got this info that you don't know. And it makes him feel special. It's power. It's special. He makes him feel like he kept telling me, he's like, just wait and see. Just wait and see. It's gonna happen. Martial law. Da 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 da. And when Biden's elected president, we're gonna become a communist country. We gotta run. And I'm like, nothing happened.
That idea of wanting to predict things.
Yeah, wanting to feel like they have power, to have and I feel like the people that you see believing these types of things are people who want to have control over something else because they feel very little control over their own lives. And they don't have control over, whether it's their job or, whether it's this new phenomenon of incels, people who feel like they're involuntary celibates or whatever else you see. There's so much of, people seeking.
I'm so ignorant. I have not heard that term.
You've never heard the word involuntarily
involuntary
celibates.
Please define that for us.
So there was the one guy that killed a bunch of people in Canada was an incel. And they're men that feel like, they're not getting laid or whatever. And I'm like, well, I don't get laid and I don't go, clearly.
Yeah, you got the vibrator backup. Yeah, we
exactly.
talked about this.
But I think that we're seeing a lot of people that are, and there's so many factors towards why people feel like they don't fit in or they're not here or they're marginalized and for these conspiracy theorists, they feel like they have no control and this theory gives them power. They've got information other people don't. They're smarter than the smart people.
They're enlightened.
They're enlightened, yes. Then, and it's like, we have, this crazy level of woke people on the left, and all of a sudden now we have the right being like, fuck you, woke people. I'm more woke because I'm anti-woke, and it's all about feeling superior to others and having power and having control, and it's super interesting.
I think it's that idea that it's hard to say that you have power if you feel as if you're equal to someone.
Yeah.
But if you're over them, then you can say I have power.
Yeah.
Because now I'm letting them into the fold. Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think of myself, I've always been, I've had people be like, oh, you're kind of like an alpha or whatever. And I'm like, I don't really I'm competitive and I push myself and I have a strong personality, but I look at other people around me. I've never felt the need to feel superior to others.
Right.
I've never, I like to read books and I was very driven to get an education and to continue into higher education, but it was never to be like, well, I've got this degree, so I'm better than you because you're, blue collar. That's never something that's,
now, for me,
I've never even think of.
I mean, for me, I can speak to always wanting to feel as if I measure up.
Yeah.
So never feeling like I need to be better than the other person.
Yeah. You just want to be.
I need to be equal.
Yeah.
Or that I can equal things out.
You need to have an impact. I think for me, it's like I would like to think that, if I died tomorrow, that hopefully, would have had some sort of impact on. I made someone else's life better. Would be what I think
you'll have about 47 Japanese strippers at that funeral crying for real.
No, but I don't. It is interesting.
Machine gun tears.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That day was super hard for me.
Yeah.
I was at work, and I just remember watching it and just being like, how
did it?
How did this even? How did we not stop this? How are we? And my parents. Tend to skew a lot more right, and they're very anti-socialism because they came from Latin America.
Sure, yeah.
And you can see that a lot in people,
a lot of people that
in Florida, all the Cubans are very anti-socialism, and they have
Trump,
this very, very intense reaction to it. And it's a little difficult sometimes for me around my parents. I'm like, I don't quite know. I want to understand where they're coming from with all that stuff because, clearly we're not going to be like, Hugo Chavez in Venezuela just because Biden got elected. But, it's just very, very hard to watch. I feel it shouldn't, I wish it wouldn't have happened, but I feel like that was the culmination of everything that's been happening for the last 4 years. And I'm not surprised that people did that.
Yeah. How did it make you feel just as, a woman of color, a woman of empowerment? I mean, to see all these people did it scare you? Did it?
I don't know if I would say scared is the word, but I mean, me, for example, even in these last 4 years, there has been at least 2 or 3 instances where I have been yelled at in a store for speaking Spanish to my mom on the phone and told to go back to my country and to go to all kinds of stuff. I've been accosted a couple times just here in Utah, and that's something that, like, yes, I could say that I experienced racism, and especially in my family, I'm a bit of the darker one out of everybody. I've definitely experienced racism as a younger person, but then I felt like there was a good period of time in my teens and when I was in college and in my 20s where these things didn't happen. And then all of a sudden in these last 5 years, I feel like 4 or 5 years, that there's been this, whatever this underbelly that was there for a long time has come up, and it's been emboldened, and all of a sudden it's okay to do these things. And so, yeah, I mean, watching that, I mean, I just felt like it was like the biggest little dick conference I've ever seen.
Right.
That's what I looked at it. I just was like, who are these guys? And like, you see the anger in their faces when they're screaming and they're yelling and foaming at the mouth and breaking things. And, they're sitting here waving a, Blue Lives Matter flag while they're beating a cop. And it's just like, how did we get to this point? Like, because to me, I would be like, I would look at, people from Latin America and be like, isn't this what you didn't want?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, so socialism is bad, but fascism is okay. Like,
right.
Like obviously there's this
a
fine line? Yeah. There's a disconnect of like,
it goes back to that whole thing. I mean, just the simplicity of Kaepernick kneeling during the anthem and people
that was
saying
so anti-American. It's
disrespectful to the flag. But then we see these people taking down the American flag to put up the
noose and putting a
noose up, and the guy sitting in Pelosi's desk, he's got the flag on a desk.
Yeah.
I mean, the disrespect there, and people not that disconnect, that hypocrisy really gets to me.
I don't know how to. I mean, I think what is the scariest about it is just kind of having that disconnect and not being able to, like, having that cognitive dissonance where you're like, I don't know how to understand this. Like, even though we all kind of know where it came from and how it got there, it's still so, and like, how do we fix it? Like, how these are clearly wounds that have been there for hundreds of years here in the U.S. And there's I mean, I know people are like, oh, there's no racism and blah, blah, blah. It's like, and how do we fix it? Yeah. How do we, like, get back to a place where we can have good discourse, civil discourse about things, where people can disagree.
Have conversations.
Yeah, because I feel like, throughout my whole life, I've always, I was probably a little bit more of a bleeding heart liberal back in college, and I've, as always, I think as you age, your values and your things evolve, but I clearly haven't just, like, changed completely. My core values are still the same, but I feel that, like, 5-6 years ago, you could have a discussion with someone that had, you could talk to someone that was a conservative, and like the discussions were like, okay, so maybe if religion was involved, it was like about being pro-life or not, or gay rights or whatever. And I could, as an atheist, understand like, okay, well, you think this is wrong because your religion tells you that. Okay. And, or it could be policy. You could be like, okay, so this, I don't agree with this policy, like, yes, you want to do this, but how do we pay for it? How is it, like, how you could discuss things in a reasonable sense and disagree on policies and the best way to do things whereas now we have like a whole section of society that's just like completely untethered from reality, that just worships some person and doesn't care. Like, I mean, we're talking about one second Mike Pence is like, Trump's trusty sidekick, and the next second he's a pedophile that they need to hang just because he didn't do what they wanted. I mean, and then I think about it, I was like, yeah, there's a lot of politicians that are really conservative that I don't agree with them, but like, am I ever going to talk about hanging them? Never. Would I ever accost them if I saw them in an airport and yell at them? Never would do any of these things. But these things are happening all the time now. And that's where I'm like, I think as I've tried to, rationalize and figure out all the stuff that's going on, and I think it's really hard. Like I think it's been super. I think that week for people was just like overwhelming. Like, I mean, I just came home like laid on the couch and was like, these are the things that you should see happening in much more underdeveloped, undemocratic countries that are still fledgling, or
with
fledgling
100
democracies.
different factions.
Exactly, much more tribalistic. Exactly, like these are not things that you should be happening in the country that's supposed to be the leader of the free world.
Right.
And for people to say like, oh, we don't want socialism, we don't want communism, but we want, people storming the Capitol and threatening to kill, and to just to stop a fair election.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't know.
Okay, so I was a behaviorist. What do you make of the man himself? What do you make of Trump? How do you break him down?
I think he's just your quintessential narcissist.
Yeah.
I think he's a like the majority of people that are very narcissistic is just extremely deep-rooted insecurity, probably based on how he was raised by his father and like the relationship that he had with his father, and he was taught that the ultimate power is to be a bully and to belittle others and to win at all costs.
Yeah.
And he never had any consequences for his actions, So since he didn't ever had any consequences for his actions, he just always, went from one thing to the other, and he was always looking for, and the thing that matters most to him is loyalty and people to adulate him, to just be like, oh, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best.
In any speech, he always would bring it somehow full circle back to himself.
Always.
It was laughable.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
They say like narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah.
Like full-fledged, like an actual disorder.
Yeah, no, he's and it's definitely been interesting to me too that I've thought about a lot is how much life has changed now that he doesn't have a Twitter, and like the day
He's cut
the
off.
news isn't like what ridiculous thing did he say today?
What the fuck's he gonna say next?
What's he gonna say next, and what's he gonna do next, and who's he gonna I mean, especially someone that's a special needs teacher my entire life, like that video where he made fun of the person that had a disability, the reporter, and then try to act like I wasn't making fun of him. It's like, dude, we have a president that mocked a disabled person, and people are like, yeah, and then I think just watching, the behaviors that happened at his rallies and like the language and what was said and like how he just got people just riled up to this fervent pitch on just literally belittling others.
You gotta watch. Have you ever watched Jordan Klepper?
Is that the guy that goes and interviews people?
Daily Show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
At the rallies and stuff. He was there at the insurrection.
Yeah.
He was there that day, and he followed the crowd from the speeches to the Capitol, to Capitol Hill.
Yeah. And
it's incredible. I mean, it's incredible to see like you said, the anger on these people's faces.
Yeah.
That they're charged up. And it was so interesting too because they wanted to do something, but they had no idea what exactly
it entailed.
And one guy, he asked one guy, "So what are you doing?" He's like, "I don't know. We're going to see what happens."
Yeah.
But they wanted to do something, whether it was planned out. They wanted to do something. And the thing that I want to throw back at everybody that talks about, well, Trump didn't incite that riot, he didn't do this or that, is he said he was going to go down there with them.
Oh, and then he didn't. He
disappeared into the White House.
He went in his little car and he went and hid.
And I talked to somebody about this, and but it goes back to what you were saying about rationalizing things. Yeah. And I mentioned this to a Trump supporter, and they said, well, the Secret Service wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
And I said, but they let him cross the street for the Bible shot?
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously, and they were handling crowds that didn't like him.
He's been told he can't tweet from his personal phone and all the other things he does because it's like a national security thing. He does it anyways. He doesn't care. And that's what I think another thing that really gets me when I look at people that are, these, because it's a culture of personality. It's almost like a cult. It's a cult of personality.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're obsessed with this person's personality. They see him as this leader. He's almost like a god. He's this and that, even though clearly he doesn't give a fuck about people like them at all. Like to him, who sits on a golden toilet and everything else.
He's not going to have his base at his resorts.
Coal miners. He doesn't give a shit about people that work in factories or just
those
basic
work. Those bum hicks down in Mississippi are never going to be welcomed at one of his hotels or one of his resorts.
He thinks they're the bottom of the barrel.
I mean,
he just uses them.
But that's it brought up an example for me when I was coming back from New York and I was taking an Uber to the train station. There was a Haitian gentleman who had been in this country for about 12 years, I believe, and he was noticeably distraught. And I asked him, what's going on? You okay? He's all, I'm really upset about the election. And I'm all, really? He's all, yeah, I just love Trump so much, and he's a winner, and he was supposed to win, and they stole it from him because I wouldn't vote. He said this verbatim, I would not vote for a loser. So it's very much like what you're talking about, his persona that he's put out there, his brand.
Yeah.
And people want to follow that. They want, there's power in following a winner, because if you win, obviously you're right.
Yeah, you're right. And it doesn't necessarily, to them, it's not like, like clearly he has had whatever real policy has he ever put out. Any comprehensive policy of anything. Like he like build a wall. Okay. Mexico will pay for it. Blah, blah, blah. All these things. Like there is no comprehensive policy, whether it be international, domestic, or we're going to rebuild the infrastructure. I mean, he doesn't care about any of that. The only thing he cared about was having the office of president, because that was the ultimate thing of power. And that's it. He doesn't care about any of those people. And it's crazy to see people following him as if he's it's the same thing you see in a cult. They follow him for whatever reason, and they'll believe anything he says.
I feel like half of them would drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, they would, and die. And I mean, there was people they were interviewing that are like, I'll die for him.
By injecting bleach into their arteries.
Or God knows what.
Windex into their eyes.
Yeah, or, and then not only is there this idolization of him, but there's this demonization of anybody who does not support him 100%.
Right.
Like I said, all of a sudden Mike Pence, from being his like trusty, Woody-looking sidekick, to now he's a pedophile. Like, I mean, people talking about he was a pedophile now.
Oh yeah.
Like the next day, he's a pedophile. I'm like,
it's that QAnon thing. It's the QAnon thing that they're all part of this satanic pedophile cult.
Yeah.
And I saw a post the other day, or a couple weeks ago, about that the person that put it up, I couldn't believe they put this up, but it basically said, oh, well, Tom Hanks, a pedophile, saying also that Joe Biden, a pedophile, is a good guy, is, it just doesn't make sense to me, and I can't believe anybody would follow that. I was like, wait, when did Tom Hanks become a pedophile?
No, I had
America's dad. What the hell?
I had the QAnon guy try to tell me that the earthquake last year in Utah was Trump actually bombing tunnels of pedophiles under Utah.
No.
Those tunnels under Utah filled with pedophiles trafficking children.
You're joking.
And
he was not serious.
No, he was completely serious. That earthquake was Trump bombing pedophiles in tunnels.
And wow.
Yeah. Because, the simplest answer is usually true. Right?
And that's Occam's razor right there. That's the only thing it could be. That's science, all right? That's science.
Yeah.
You wouldn't understand. You're a woman.
Yeah,
you have
I
a smaller brain. It's science.
Small brains.
Wow. But that's scary, because that's the stuff that these people believe.
Yeah. Oh, they believe it. They believe it the same way that like a religious person believes the Bible. I mean, it is the same type of
do you think going
blind
back,
faith?
Yeah, so blind faith. So I mean, do you think it goes back as a I would say scientist. I'm going to call you a scientist.
Yeah. Scientist, behaviorist, whatever.
Yeah. That, does it go back to this primal need to believe in something that's bigger than yourself, but also have that entity or whatever it is believe in you?
Exactly. It's about feeling special, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, in this whole world of everything that happened and everything's crazy, I want to feel that I'm special, that I have a purpose. And I think that for a lot of people that were these, fervent Trump supporters, Trump made them feel special, made them feel like they had a voice, like they were no longer marginalized, like they were, and whether it's, white, disaffected, straight men that felt like they're under attack because, all of a sudden there's 89 genders or whatever else.
They can't say what they want to say all the time.
They can't say what they want to say all the time. And all of a sudden, pretty soon women are going to want to vote, and we're going to want to be able to drive cars and have bank accounts.
Is that where we are?
No, not women voting. No.
We can't have women's suffrage.
But
no, like there is, and just so many people I feel like, because clearly this system doesn't work for a good portion of this society. It isn't perfect, and but, and I don't get me wrong. I do not purport to think that I know the answers to any of this or how to fix this. But it is definitely, it has been crazy to watch the development of these types of, where all of a sudden, because I feel like, like 8 or so years ago, it was like the anti-vaxxers, and then it was, the climate change deniers, and then like, it went from this to this and all these anti-science things and all that. And me being very much an atheist my whole life, but also trying to not be judgmental of religion and just let people, believe what they want to believe. You can believe what you want to believe as long as it doesn't, infringe on someone else's rights. seeing that development, like all of a sudden, Tom Hanks is a pedophile, it's almost unfathomable. Like, how do you wrap your mind around how someone would believe that?
Yeah.
How do you, and if you talk to one of these people, because I have, this dude, it's scary. Like, literally, like, foaming at the mouth, talking about pedophiles and the tunnels and Trump, and you just wait. He's going to do martial law, and he's going to, all the ballot machines, and this company did this, Dominion or whatever, and Hunter Biden's laptop, and, remember Tucker Carlson? He had those papers where he's like, these papers have the secrets, and it's going to show that Biden is this and this and that. And then he said he was going to put it out on a show, and somehow the papers got lost by the courier across the country, as if no one has like a fucking scanner.
That.
Oh no,
Are you serious?
It was hilarious. He was like,
"That's awesome."
Tomorrow night on my show, I am going to reveal all the corruption of the Biden family. I have these secret documents that are coming, and we are going to reveal it. And then it never showed up. And he's like, "Well, so they were stolen on the way." Or this and that.
And his viewers buy that.
Oh, they totally buy it. And it never showed up.
Shit.
It never came back. And remember Hunter Biden's laptop? Like, some laptop got dropped off at some VCR store, and it was his laptop, and clearly it has child pornography and pictures of him doing blow on Russian hookers or who knows what. But then, whatever happened to that? Nothing. Because, the way these conspiracy theorists go is that there's always just a new conspiracy, right? So nothing happened. Trump didn't take back the government. He's now not been president for years. So they have to just make a new conspiracy. It's like the 2012 stuff,
Yeah.
2012 came and went, and we're still here.
Right.
For better or worse.
Well, no, this has been wonderful. No, it's been great to have a behavioral scientist on the show that's that can speak to these things from that perspective. I mean, everybody's. We're just naturally going to be subjective. That's how. Yeah. But you have a much more objective mind.
I try to.
Yeah.
But I try
from a more objective standpoint than most.
Yeah,
it's great to
I've tried to not,
your observations.
I have, there's people I know that are much more involved in politics and always ranting and raving about this and that. And I pretty much, if you follow me on like social media or anything, I don't really talk about politics and I don't say much. But
you're very well spoken on it. You have some very insightful opinions, I must say.
Because I feel I don't like the people that, because there's so much nowadays. It's people lecturing. It's like, well, if you don't believe what I believe, then it's there. It's so polarized, and it's so this, and if you say anything, then someone's offended, and this person's offended, and this and that. And I, especially being a teacher and working with kids, and and I've tried. I don't like to lecture people on, well, you did this and you did that or whatever else. And in general, I know that the people that know me well know what I believe, and so I don't. Mm-hmm. I don't need to brag about being smart, or I don't need to brag about what I know about politics. I don't need to do this, because the people, like successful people, don't have to talk about being successful. Smart people don't have to talk about being smart. People will know. Right?
It's apparent, yes.
It's apparent, right? So and
then they'll call you out for being reasonable.
Yeah, and then you're too reasonable. And so
pretty logical argument there, Ari. It makes me uncomfortable.
I have tried to, especially like I said, there's a bit of a difference in what like my family and my brother's politics to mine, which is fine. Like, whatever, it's fine. Mm-hmm. I could be the black sheep. I'm like the single old cat lady in my family, and it's fine. But it's definitely been tough, and I really hope that we can all come to a place where we can have better civil discourse. Because I feel like before, you could talk to people. You could talk about whether you wanted a single payer health system or what, or like these things. You can have these conversations without people being like, "You libtard," and "You're a sheeple." I love that. You're a sheeple.
What?
You haven't heard that? Sheeple. So the right wing people talk about libtards and sheeple. They'll be
define
like,
both those.
So a libtard is like a liberal retard.
Libtard,
yeah. And it's all about, Jordan Peterson and owning the libs, getting in these arguments and like making them cry, It's all about, once again, we're talking about having power over someone by winning an argument, showing that you were stronger, that you were smarter, that you were bigger, that you were more powerful. And there's a lot of mocking it and stuff. And then there's the sheeple. There's the,
sheeple. People with sheep in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. Sheeple. It's people that just follow along. Oh, you wear a mask. You're a sheeple.
Oh,
your constitutional rights to your freedom of speech is being, impeded by a mask on your face.
Can you believe that a mask is now
a symbol of like...
A symbol.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
I watched something the other day that's like, I'm a free man. I won't wear a mask. I'm like...
So I'm in Brighton last night riding.
Yeah.
And there's this fucking kid in front of us. He was a high schooler. He's like 18. And they're patrolling. The employees and the lifties are patrolling like the fucking Gestapo, man, up and down this line saying, masks over the nostrils, masks over the nostrils.
That's what they do. It's number 2.
And I was trying to drink a protein shake, and I had it in my pocket, a flask of protein. And, I had my mask down. He's like, when you're done with that, you got to pull that up over your mouth. And he came back again, and it was down. I pulled it down to scratch my jaw. So I don't know. It was just down for a second. I was fixing it. He says, if I have to ask you to put that up one more time, I'm going to ask you to leave. He's like, second time's back of the line, third time is you have to leave. I'm like, holy shit. So I had the mask on. So we're all adhering. We're all masking, neck buffs.
Because, it doesn't.
It was cold. It was like the neck gaiter.
Yeah.
And there's this kid in front of me who doesn't have a mask. Flagrantly, blatantly, no mask. And he was like, I'll ride up with you guys. We'll share the same chair. I'm sort of like, cool. So.
You put your mask on?
So no mask. I mean, this guy's going to bust you, man. He's like, no, I don't wear masks. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't wear masks? I mean, we all have to. We're all here.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I go to Riverton High, and I don't wear a mask there either. I'm like, oh, you mean they don't make you wear masks at Riverton High? He's like, no, everyone has to wear masks, but I just don't do it. I'm like, what do you mean you don't do it? He's like, I just don't do it. He kept saying that. And I'm like, well, how do you get away with that? What do you mean you just don't do it? He's like, well, they tell me to put a mask on, but I just say, no, I don't wear masks. I just don't do it. I just don't do it, man. I'm not going to do it.
I'm a free man.
And that, right, he had this bravado to him that was so funny.
Braggadocio.
And me and my buddy are just sort of, I feel my eyes widening. And I'm
because
sort
you're
of
just
looking at him. I just don't do it. And then, he follows it up with the same pride that he stated with, I just don't do it. I'm cool. He's like, yeah, man, I've had it 3 times. It's no big deal. I've had Corona 3 times. I'm like, wait. You've had Corona 3 times? He's like, yeah, man, it's nothing. I mean, if
just
you
a flu, just a flu.
If you have a healthy immune system, if you're and I couldn't believe what he was saying. He's like, yeah, and I've known a few people who've died. Like there's a few people I've known who've died, but they had problems. And if you're even
I'm big and strong,
remotely healthy. You'll be fine. I've had it 3 times, and he's proud of this. I'm like, motherfucker, you've had it 3 times, but you don't wear a mask, and you're cool, and you're bad. I want to punch you in the fucking larynx right now. But the only reason I won't is because we're in Brighton, and you're like a kid. But
that would be inappropriate.
but needless to say, I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, but I don't want to be inappropriate.
But I'm like, you know what? We didn't ride up in the same chairlift with him. I couldn't believe. I kind of took one of those small backward steps once he turned away and was sort of talking sideways out of the corner of my mouth. And my buddy what the fuck is this guy? But he was so proud. There's something so self.
It was like a badge of honor.
It was annoyingly self-righteous. And in the same breath, he's like, I don't wear masks. And I've had it 3 times. It's no big deal. And I've known people who've died.
Yeah. Just
I'm like, man, I don't get you, but you're a fucking tool bag, and
so,
I was not vibing with this dude. I'm like, you know what?
You're freaking weird.
I think I hate you. I'm not sure. I just met you, but I think I hate you, dude.
So I'll have
he
to
was
tell
awful.
you. I'll
he
tell
was
you.
awful.
I have. Yeah, it's getting a little late, but I'll tell you my favorite anti-mask story. So one time I was at my favorite Asian store, where I go to get all my teas and wontons and stuff.
Your wooden sandals and socks.
Yes. And I'm sitting in line waiting for just waiting to pay, and this couple walks in, and they're the very stereotypical jacked up gym couple, right? And I don't know where it's come from, but there's definitely seems to be a correlation between these anti-maskers, freedom people, and lifting weights. Maybe it's all the whole I fix myself, self-help shit.
Buff people don't get sick.
Yeah, it's a self-helpy, self-righteous. I'm picking myself up by my bootstraps and getting ripped.
And I'll
kind
pick
of
up
shit.
that fucking weight for you.
I lift big things. I don't know. So this is very, very stereotypical gym couple. They look exactly like everyone you'd see yelling about masks and freedom on Instagram. Big beard and tattoos, and the girl,
it's a
boobs,
lumberjack, and he squats 600 pounds, and he has a beer belly.
And don't get me wrong, I love to lift, and I'm but it's been weird to see the polarization in the certain groups of people that have kind of
adhered to
certain ideologies. Yeah, exactly. So this woman, so at the Asian store, there's a sign that says very clearly at the front that's like, you have to have a mask to come
As
in here.
everything by mandate has to have.
Yeah, exactly. And this little old lady that works there, she's so cute. I talk to her every time I go in there. She has a little box of masks, and if anybody doesn't have a mask, she goes and gives it to you. So she walks up to the guy and the girl and is like, excuse me, I'm sorry, you need to wear a mask. She's like, I'm not wearing a mask in here. She's like, fuck that, I'm not wearing a mask. And the little old lady's like, okay, well, then you have to leave. I'm sorry, but we have a mask mandate.
Stuck to her
and
guns.
you have to leave. And she's like, no. She's like, no. My constitutional rights tell me that I don't have to wear a mask. I'm just like, and everybody's like just watching
it
this.
says it in the
And clearly
Constitution,
there's like,
clearly.
the 24th Amendment.
The
that says-
forefathers knew. Alexander
Yeah.
Hamilton didn't wear a mask either.
Yeah, no, Jefferson clearly didn't
Fuck
wear
that.
a mask. So.
Benjamin Franklin, never.
Never, yeah. So she's like, my constitutional rights say that I don't have to wear a mask. And the lady's like,
shit.
okay. She's like, but this is a private business.
Well, it's my
so-
right to say.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, but we're not going to serve you unless. And so then she starts freaking like yelling at her. And so the lady's like, here, I have a mask. Please just wear it while you shop. Take it off the second you go outside. It's fine. The girl, cunt bag, throws the mask at this cute little old Asian lady. Throws it back at her.
She threw it at her face.
I thought I was about to go to jail. I was like, oh God, threw it at her. Luckily,
you grab the nearest can. You're gonna
I was like, I'm going to throw my wonton soup at this bitch.
no fucking.
And then she starts yelling at her, but she's like, this is all your fucking fault. The Wuhan flu, the Kung flu, and starts yelling
Are
all
you
this
fucking
Asian shit.
kidding me?
And then like, I finally just look at her. I'm like, I'm like, if you don't want this, why the fuck are you at the Asian
Did you
store?
say that?
Yeah.
Did you say that?
I was like, what the fuck are you doing at the Asian store? I was like, get the fuck out. And it was funny. So then the little old lady, and so I said, no. I was like,
You stepped in.
Luckily, like 4 other people, like everyone around me, which is funny because a whole bunch of the other people were very much not Asian. There's a lot of people that go to this Sandy Asian store that are just run-of-the-mill white people that just go there because it has awesome produce and tons of good food. And the little old lady grabbed the cart right from her, pulled it, and was like, leave. And then everybody else in line was just like,
Yeah, get the fuck
out. Like if you're gonna sit here and yell about the Asian flu and the Kung flu and yell at people about being Chinese, get the fuck, like, leave.
Kung flu.
Yeah, she called it the Kung flu. And then so after everybody's just like, get the fuck out, and the little lady grabbed her cart and pulled it, and pushed it down and was like, leave.
Brassy.
Everybody just started clapping, and they walked out. As she walked out, she's like, Trump 2020, and everybody's like,
Are you fucking kidding me?
And we were all just looking.
And
at her.
everyone's like, fuck you.
Yeah, everybody's just like, are you fucking?
What did the guy do in all this?
Oh, the guy was just kind of like, babe, stop, babe, stop, babe, stop.
Oh,
and she did this. And the best part was the Trump 2020 as she walked out.
Yeah, you've proved our point. Thank you.
Thank you for showing. And like you're assaulting.
Yeah, so that's what you want to attach your name to.
Yeah, the person.
Brought to you by Trump 2020, motherfuckers, poos.
As I'm getting
berated, yeah, thrown on the curb.
Everybody's clapping because everybody's just like, who cares if you want to vote for him or whoever you want to like? You literally insulted an elderly person.
That's horrible. That's like being tarred and feathered and run out of town on rails saying Trump 2020.
Yeah, like, dude, yeah, it was.
When
horrible.
was this?
This was just a couple weeks before the election. It must have been
little
like
sweet
early
lady.
November. It must have been like late October.
I'm so proud of her for sticking to her guns.
Oh, the little old
saying,
lady totally did.
leave.
She took her cart. She took the cart
And
that had
stepped
all her
in.
stuff in it and said, "No, I'm sorry, but this is a private business, and we say you have to wear a mask, and if you don't like it, go shop somewhere else."
That's where we're at.
That's all.
I was coming back from Indian Creek, which is a climbing mecca for those of you who don't know, a great rock climbing mecca in southern Utah. And we were coming through this little town called Huntington.
Oh, I know Huntington.
Sorry, not
Huntsville. Hanksville.
No, coming through Price, Wellington. We're coming through this little town called Wellington. And we see a Trump parade. It was about 24 pickup trucks blocking the right lane, going about 30 miles an hour with kids chock-a-block full in the back of each bed, waving to traffic, waving American flags, Trump flags. They're wearing MAGA hats. Every single guy behind the wheel is what you think. It's like the mullet, the MAGA hat, the Carhartts.
Yeah.
This is a small rural Mormon town, very conservative. And there's honking and waving at traffic. And they were just having a lark, and we were horrified. We're forced to drive slow, and this is weeks before the election. I'm like, oh my God, he has strongholds everywhere. Trump has strongholds. It's only in rural, right? Pharaoh made a great point earlier. this guy, supposedly the champion of the proletariat and coal miners, fucking coal miners at his golf courses.
No.
Ain't no
You gotta
Mississippi
pay
old
like
boys at
$75
his
grand
golf
to go to
courses.
Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't give a shit about them, but you're right. He is this cult of personality. They adore him. They're like, Trump, yeah, Trump. And Jordan and I are just disgusted. We're disgusted. Now these are dangerous people, right? They're far right. They're very Republican. They're gun toting.
Probably got rifles in the back of the
There's
truck,
guns
so.
and gun racks, So it's not like we're gonna do anything crazy. We're not gonna
Well,
cut them off. Fuck you.
Like I was saying before, neither I could be not like a politician or whatever else, but you're not gonna see me wrapped in their flag yelling at someone on the street.
No,
ever.
exactly. But there's these kids. They're like middle school kids. I'm like, these kids are drinking the Kool-Aid. This is insane, and they are nodding their head, yes, and flashing us a thumbs up, and we just couldn't. I couldn't do it. I'm like, kid, you're gonna wake up when you're 20 and realize you're on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
The wrong side of history, and there's no opinions. There's right and there's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so I felt my hand go up, and to his thumb up,
You're just like, nope.
I gave him the death to the gladiator thumb down, and I shook my head. I'm like, no. And I kept my thumb down as I'm going by this whole thing. And this kid looks at me, and he narrows his eyes. He gives me the snake eyes, and he shakes his head at me like he wanted to cut my throat from fucking ear to ear.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, oh my God, I am at odds with a child.
Yeah.
This shit is putting me
Who
at odds
probably barely has the capacity for moral
with a
reasoning.
middle schooler.
Yeah.
He's all thumbs up. Yeah, Trump. I'm like, thumbs down. No, kid, wake up. And he's
Yeah.
like, fuck you. And I was in awe. I'm like, I am in odds with the kid. That's how polarizing this election was.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Ugh. With a side of ugh.
No, you're right, man. It's
Scary.
and it's not. You think it's just in the rural areas.
It's not. No.
But it really isn't. The thing about it is that the strongholds and I should say the majority of people that vote in these rural communities are probably Trumpers, so that's why you see the parades.
Yeah.
But
There's a good amount of just.
oh yeah, but yeah, you're right. Because I was in Fishkill, New York, and saw a similar parade, and I was working with a woman. I believe she's Korean, and she went out to the street and started flipping off the parade. Parade, and they just started yelling the most vile crap to her. And she was so proud. For every insult she got, she's stood
like, this
tall.
is great. She's
yeah,
like, yeah,
this is just proving my point.
Yeah,
and then
that
she
you're
flip
hateful.
them off again.
You're full of hate. Like, why?
Well, when your best comeback is some racist,
or you're just a
bigoted,
sheeple. You're a libtard. You're a sheeple.
Yeah,
like you're just.
That's
like,
your
you
best
don't
comeback.
know. Like yeah. It's so. Like, you can't, I can't tell you how many times someone's like, but socialism, oh, it's Antifa. And I'm like, define socialism. Please define socialism. They can't. They can't tell you the difference between communism, between socialism. They can't tell you the tenets of the ideology whatsoever. They just know it's bad. And anything that has to do with, there's these trigger words for them. Anything that has to do with any of that is just bad. And
Well,
it's all,
yeah.
and they associate it with this. It's the Democrats. It's AOC. It's this. They're all this and that. It's like,
Well, and I don't agree with. I mean, I definitely find myself going more left.
yeah, and that's kind
but
of how I am
I don't
too.
agree with everything
no,
that
no.
the left says.
No,
I
there's
don't-
definitely wacky stuff far
I
left.
think
By all means.
I used to really not agree with AOC on a lot of things, but then I started watching more of her committee meetings and some of the things she was doing. I was like, okay, wait, no, this lady's got some things down.
But even
but we're definitely, I'm 50-50 on her.
yeah,
but-
and that's I don't fully support her either. But I think that you can look at, like, someone like her and you're like, okay, so you can disagree with the Green Deal. You can disagree with the single payer healthcare system. But at the end of the day, these are just policies, and you can disagree on a policy. I mean, but at the end of the day too, these are things that our peer democracies in Europe and in other places have. Like, we're the only industrialized nation without some sort of healthcare system provided to the people as a universal thing.
Right.
And it's like you can be like, okay, I don't necessarily agree with how you're going to pay for the Green Deal. I don't know how you're going to pay for Medicare for all. I don't know if that's the best solution. But there's a difference between disagreeing with someone and being like, okay, you know, I want a more capitalistic economy, I want more free market, I want more whatever else. And then there's that, and then there's but then how do you go from that and be like, okay, I don't like what you think about this, and then look at someone over here that's like, well, the fires in California were caused by Jewish lasers. Like, you know, like, because that one chick from fucking Georgia actually said that.
Oh, God, Marjorie.
Yeah, Marjorie, whatever, M.O.P. or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know what the fucking name is.
And they actually censored her. They kicked her off all of her committees.
Yeah, like, so, but that's the thing is, like, there's plenty of wacky stuff far left.
Yeah.
And I'm not a hugely politically correct person. As you can see, I'm very, I have no censor.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
But at the same time, it's like, I'll still take a social justice warrior over a fucking Nazi any day. I'm sorry, guys.
No, absolutely.
you want me to pick one? I'm going to hug the social justice warrior.
Sorry, I'm right there with you. I was like, I might not like the social justice warrior all that much, but I definitely like them a lot more than you.
Yeah, and like I said, it's like, okay, so yes, we've gotten a little wacky over here, and there's still so much stuff I think we need to understand, you know, like gender stuff and political correctness and feminism, and there's people that take everything way too far, by all means. But at the end of the day, we're still talking about people fighting for equality or fighting to save the earth. And then you got over here people that like way over here, right? Then this is clearly not all of conservatism, and I think that conservatism, they really have a divide that they need to figure out.
Oh yeah.
How to bridge, because
well, and I think there's a divide in the liberal party.
By all means, yeah. And I definitely go left of center, but there's but like over here we're talking about people that bully and hate, and like you were talking about, yell out obscenities and racist things and all these things, and it's like, how do we balance this? I don't feel like it's a...
I do have a quick question.
Okay.
And it's a quick question, but it might have a really long answer. I don't know. I hope not. And this comes...
We can divide this show into 2 parts. It's fine.
We might have to.
Yeah.
It could be fun.
It's the strip club half and the politics
and then there's
half.
politics.
Oh, man. This
And then we
sounds
can
like
talk
it's going to
about
involve a
snowboarding.
lot of editing. Damn it.
Dude, this is you've dug your own hole, Pharaoh.
Yeah.
I've dug my own hole.
Yes.
Do you hear that?
Yes.
It's all on
You
me.
should pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
What's this question? Yeah,
Help
stop
yourself. Make your bed every day.
Hey.
And then
some
if you do
balls.
that, you will fight cultural Marxism.
Listen, Pharaoh, have some balls. Stop being such a pussy. You know?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Grow some ovaries.
Yeah. Okay. I'm asking you this because you're a behaviorist.
Yeah.
And where did and I
There's
haven't
a bathroom in there. You
I
can
haven't
let out.
researched
He's
it.
probably pretty high.
I haven't researched it
cat.
enough. Who came up with all the categories, the identity categories, the identifications, the identifiers?
For what?
Cisgender. Where did these come from?
So
They kind of freak me out. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
no,
be,
they
I'm
freak
not
me
gonna
out
be,
a little bit
because
too.
there's so
Like,
many of them.
I remember.
And it's like if you don't know every one of them, there used to be 54 when the list came out, but I don't know how many there are now.
I don't know, and
And
that's another thing.
And
like,
I'll call whatever you want to be called. I'll call you.
I'll call you Princess Poopy Pants.
Whatever.
I don't care.
Yeah, I'm
like,
fine with that. I'm just wondering where all
Yeah,
these terms came from.
and I do find it really interesting that people are like, I can't change my language for someone. It's like, why do you care? This doesn't affect you. Oh boy, this does not affect you whatsoever. Why do you care if you call someone they or shim or
absolutely.
z or whatever else? Like, do I think it's a little bit excessive? Yeah, but I think that like anything else, I think anytime you look at a movement where people who were disenfranchised or marginalized or had less rights, when they come into power and kind of feel like they can be themselves and they can come out, there is this pendulum effect, I think, where it kind of goes, whoop, and I think that's what we're seeing now. As people are starting to understand that there is not just male and female and there's not just masculinity and femininity, that there's a lot of gray area. And ideally, we shouldn't care what anybody is anyways, right? You should just be able to be who you are. But for a lot of people, they still can't.
Right.
And I think I've said this to like people I know. I've known one or two people that are transgender, and I can't even, like, as me being a girl that has just some masculine traits and knowing how hard that is, I can't even fucking imagine what that would be like. And, like, having to live with that. And having, at the end of the day, we're all trying to figure out who the fuck we are.
Yeah.
Imagine having that hurdle. And so I don't know where it all came from. I honestly, I remember being in college and, kind of multiculturalism was this new thing that was coming out. And what's his name the other day that was like, fuck multiculturalism. Was it Barr? It was it was Pompeo. He's like, oh, multiculturalism is the death of the U.S. I'm like, whatever happened to the Statue of Liberty?
It's like, why are people still talking to you? Aren't you out of office?
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know where it all came from.
I'm just curious because whoever came up with cisgender,
I didn't even know.
I really want to have a talk with them because that term right there, it just sounds like something that needs to be removed.
What is
like a cyst?
What does the cis stand for?
Yeah. It's like
I don't know.
It sounds like an abscess or a cyst that you take your cat in or your dog in to have removed by the vet.
I don't know.
That term just.
I don't know.
It freaks me out. It's kind of a. It's a
I didn't even
freaky
know.
term.
Like, so it was last summer. Backcountry sponsored me to go run the Cirque Series race in Alaska, because so he knows. But 2 years ago, I was in 2 car accidents in 10 months. I was rear-ended, and I ended up having to have 2 discs removed and replaced in my neck, and I have 4 metal plates. So I basically, for 2 years of my life, I was in so much pain. I couldn't sleep, and finally got my neck fixed. And then it was kind of like getting back into sports, and so I wrote a proposal to Backcountry to have them sponsor me to go run these runs as I was kind of trying to get back into being outdoors. And I remember when I told my brother that they were sponsoring me, he's like, "Oh, they're just doing that because you're a POC," and I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, what's a POC? To me, I was like, POC Sports, because that brand, I have a lot of POC stuff, and he's a person of color. And he basically insinuated that, hopefully my brother never hears this, he would hate this, but whatever. He insinuated the only reason I was picked was because I was a girl and a person of color. And they were just trying, you poor white people.
So like trying to fulfill some sort of diversity quotient.
Exactly. That's why I was picked to be paid to go to Alaska to run a race.
You're familiar with the idea of white fragility?
Yes.
And
yes.
white guilt, right?
White guilt,
we feel bad, about the, genocide of Native Americans and slavery and all. So let's
send Ari to go run a trail running race in Alaska.
Let's pick the Latina girl. She's black enough, close to black. I don't know. We'll pick her.
But so
we'll throw her a bone.
I don't know, and I really hope that a lot of this very excessive gender stuff and excessive political correctness and canceling and all this stuff. I mean, I think they're all symptoms of similar problems, whether it's on the left or the right, and similar grievances and kind of like there's a lot of culture of victimhood, and but it's funny because the people I feel that accuse people of being victims the most are actually the white people.
Yeah,
it's
white. It really is.
It is. They're the ones playing the biggest victims. Yeah.
Yeah, it's these upper
that have
like
no
people.
idea. Like, you have any idea what it's like to be an African American person in the inner city?
It's so funny because it's as if they want to have something to fight for.
Yeah.
And they don't know what that is, so they're going to fight on behalf of all these other people, but they don't really know
what they're fighting for.
Right. They don't know how
they're
to
fighting
fight
socialism.
Yeah.
And Antifa.
Right.
And pedophiles. They're fighting the pedophiles and Antifa
fighting pedophiles.
and socialism. These are the things that are apparently going to be the downfall of America.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because I'm like, well, what?
No, I think
So
I
if
think
we
it
all
goes
of a sudden had healthcare, like
circling back.
Next thing you know, we're just going to be all holding sickles and like marching in the streets to Russia.
Well,
like,
circling back to what you had said before, it's about having power.
Yeah.
And power of information, but also having power of faith and having power of purpose.
Purpose, yeah.
So if I'm fighting for something, whether it's the left, or the right, then I have purpose. My life has purpose.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people don't know what they're fighting for, don't know how to fight it, and so they pick up causes that aren't their own.
Yeah. No, totally. Or there's so much judgment too. It's like, well, yeah, Trump is fighting for us and I'm fighting for this, and if you're not doing anything, if you're not doing this, then it's all I don't know. I hope that I hope we get to a better place where we can all just drink scotch and smoke cigars and eat steak.
What kind of scotch again? What was that?
Lagavulin.
The preferred scotch of Ron Swanson.
Oh, is it?
It is. Is it? It is. Well, before we offend everybody else, the one last person that's listening to this podcast, that isn't
your mother.
Oh, I would never let my mother listen to this podcast.
Yeah, I'm hoping my mother doesn't either.
But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we might. This is great. I mean, it's 2 hours of 40 minutes, but
Yeah, sorry that this went on.
I think we
I was
we can
supposed to
do
go
it.
to my girlfriend's house. She's like, I thought you were going to be done at like 6:30. I was like, yeah, I don't know.
You remember in the old days of the movies, like Spartacus, Ben-Hur, they had an intermission?
Yeah.
We can make an intermission in the middle of this with like theme music. We
can
do all
make
sorts
popcorn.
of stuff. Sure. Or
Yeah.
let's all go to the lobby or something like that.
Yeah, go to the lobby.
This is
the
epic.
mezzanine.
Ooh, look at you. I should have warned you about her brain, by the way. Yeah.
too reasonable.
I'm
Yeah,
far too
and
reasonable.
logical, and I don't know, a lot of big words in there that you used. I was like, oh man, what? But no, Adi Alba.
It's been a
Adi
pleasure.
Alba. Adi.
I hope my
Adi
parents nor my
Alba.
brother listen to this podcast.
Oh
ever.
man, I'm so.
The tens of people that do listen probably don't know them, so.
Okay, good.
This was a good play. This was a smart play to interview her. I mean, who knew it would go to such?
We'd go from
reaches.
like strippers to politics
I'm
to
more
snowboarding.
comfortable with Japanese strippers.
Yeah.
And this, that's what I understand because I'm a reptile. I'm reptilian. I'm base. But you're an evolved mind. I love what you brought to the table here tonight.
I think it's a disservice to call them strippers from the way you describe them. This is performance.
No, this was
Performers.
performance. It really was.
They are not strippers. I wish I knew what the word was.
The erotic Japanese dance artists that you saw
Yeah.
deserve
Absolutely.
more. They deserve more.
Yeah, and they.
And I'm so glad that you shared a lot with us tonight. Damn.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Glad your pinky's on the mend.
It is.
Actually, did you get stitches? I never even asked.
Yeah, I got 5 stitches.
Oh wow, look at you. Well, you're amazing.
Yeah.
You're a shredder.
Yeah.
You're a behaviorist. You're a mountain biker. You're it seems a politician.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of
holy
keep it.
shit.
I kind of find I have to keep it to myself.
No, this is amazing,
So-
and I think you got a lot of great insights. And if anyone ever wants to ride with her, you better fucking strap your boots up tight because
Yeah.
she's the real McCoy.
I'll make your butthole pucker.
That's a promise, and that's the quote for the episode. Thank you, Ari. I adore
Okay,
you. I'm
bye.
glad
Have
I
a good
know
night.
you. Peace out.